Hello friends, today we will have some discussion on limit, fit and tolerances. We know that the concept of mass production originated with the automobile industry and the Ford Motors produced their first car Model T with mass production concept. Similarly, the concept of interchangeability was introduced first in the United States. But initially, it was aimed at quick and easy replacement of damaged parts rather than achieving cheap products in large quantities. Up to the beginning of the World War II, every component was manufactured in house. But during and after the World War II, the automobile companies started outsourcing for carrying out roughing operations. Slowly and gradually, this outsourcing moved from roughing components to finished components and from finished components to finished assemblies. The automobile industry started asking their suppliers to plan for the design, development and manufacture of products which are to be used in producing cars and trucks. We know that in mass production, the repetitive production of products and their components entirely depends upon interchangeability. When one component assembles properly with another mating component, which may be chosen randomly, then that process is known as interchangeability. So, in other words, we can also say that it is such a condition which exists when two or more items possess such functional and physical characteristics so as to be equivalent in performance and durability and are capable of being exchanged one for the other without altering the items. As per the ISO standards, interchangeability is defined as the ability of one product, process, or service to be used in place of another so as to fulfill the same requirements. In other words, it is also known as the ability to select components for assembly at random and fit them together within proper tolerances. Now we know that for the proper functioning of any manufactured assembly, the components must fit with each other in the required fashion. For example, if the shaft is to slide in a hole, there must be enough clearance between the shaft and the hole so as to allow the oil film to be maintained in between for proper lubrication. If the clearance between these two parts is too small, it may lead to splitting of the components. And if the clearance between these two parts is too large, there would be vibrations and rapid wear, ultimately resulting into failure. To achieve the required conditions, the components must be produced with exact dimensions that are specified at the design stage in the part drawing. However, we know that it is very difficult to produce extremely similar or identically sized components. So we can understand that due to inevitable inaccuracies of manufacturing methods, it is not possible to produce parts to the specified dimensions, but they can be manufactured economically to the required size that lies between two limits. With this thing, the terms shaft and hole are referred for external and internal dimensions respectively in our entire discussion. So with this we come to the first term, limits. Limits are two extreme permissible sizes of a dimension between which the actual size as per the part drawing of the dimension is contained. There are two types of limits, the upper limit and the lower limit. The upper limit suggests the greatest permissible size of a feature, whereas the lower limit suggests the smallest permissible size of a feature. This is true for both the external and internal dimensions, that is, the shaft and the hole. Now, when we understand the upper and lower limit, we come to the concept of tolerance. The permissible variation in the size or a dimension is called tolerance. It is the amount by which a job is allowed to go away from the actual size without any functional trouble. So the entire span between the upper limit and the lower limit is known as tolerance. If we take this example, here in this particular case, the upper limit of the dimension of a hole is 31.78, whereas the lower limit is 31.75. So if we try to find out the tolerance, that is the total amount of variation that comes out to be the difference between the upper limit and the lower limit, which is 0.03 in present case. Now, why tolerance is necessary? See, we know it is impossible to manufacture a part or a component to an exact size or geometry. So variation from the drawing is inevitable. So in such a case, if some acceptable level of variation is applied, it would help. However, if the variation is large, then it would affect the functionality of the part, and if the variation is too small, it would affect the economy of the part. Generally, for parts which have smaller, that is the tighter tolerances, the cost of producing it increases because of two main reasons. First, the special methods of manufacturing are required, which would be costly. And the second reason is this might require greater level of inspection, which would result into larger number of rejections. Now we would discuss the types of tolerance. There are two types of tolerance, unilateral and bilateral. In unilateral tolerance, the dimension of the part is allowed to vary only on one side of the basic size. That is, the tolerance lies fully on one side of the basic size, which can be either above the basic size or below the basic size. Now, basic size is the dimension specified in the part drawing. Take for example, 25.00 is the basic size. Now we can specify the tolerance in four different conditions. Two of them can be the case where one of the upper or lower limit is equal to the basic size, and the other two cases can be the case where the upper and lower limit are quite higher or quite lower than the basic size. The first example suggests 25 plus 0.02 and plus 0.01. So the upper limit is 25.02 and lower limit is 25.01. So we understand that the upper and the lower limit in this case lies quite above the basic size. If we take the second example, here the dimension varies from 25.02 to 25.00. So the upper limit is 25.02 and the lower limit is equal to the basic size. In the third case, the upper limit is 25.00, which is equal to the basic size, whereas the lower limit is 24.98. And the fourth case, if you can see, the upper limit is 24.99 and the lower limit is 24.98. So in all these four cases, we understand that the upper and the lower limit, or in that way the entire span of tolerance, lies either above the basic size or below the basic size. The second type of tolerance is called the bilateral tolerance. In specifying bilateral tolerance, the dimension of the part is allowed to vary on both sides of the basic size. That is, the limits of tolerance lie fully on either side of the basic size. It is important to note here that these limits of tolerance may not be necessarily spread equally about the basic size. So there can be a case like 25 plus or minus 0.02 where the spread across the basic size is equal, and there can be a case like 25 plus 0.02 and minus 0.01, giving the upper limit as 25.02 and lower limit as 24.99. Here we note that the spread of the limit of tolerance is not equal on either side of the basic size. Thus, there are different ways of specifying limits and tolerances. We may directly specify the value of limits like 1.498 and 1.497 being the upper and lower limit respectively. Sometimes we might specify only a single limit tolerance, or it can be the case of bilateral or unilateral tolerance as discussed just now. Now, before discussing the concept of fits, we will have to go through certain general terminologies to be used. Shaft is a term that is used conventionally to designate all external features of a part, whereas hole is a term which is conventionally used to designate all internal features of a part. Nominal size is the size by which an item is designated for convenience. Basic size is the size from which limits of the size are derived by applying certain deviations. Usually basic size and nominal size are equal. There is another term, the zero line, which is a straight line corresponding to the basic size. The deviations are measured from this line. The positive and negative deviations are shown above and below the zero line respectively. Allowance is another important term. It is the difference between the basic dimensions of meeting parts. If you see the figure, the allowance can be considered as the difference between the lower limit of the hole and the upper limit of the shaft. So as shown in figure, when the shaft size is less than the hole size, then the allowance is positive. But when the shaft size is greater than the hole size, then the allowance is negative. We come to another important terminology, deviation. The algebraic difference between a size and its corresponding basic size is known as deviation. The value of deviation can be positive, negative, or zero. There are two basic types of deviation, the upper deviation and the lower deviation. The algebraic difference between the maximum limit of the size of the hole or shaft and its corresponding basic size is the upper deviation. Upper deviation is denoted by capital ES for hole and small es for shaft by convention. How do we define lower deviation? It is the algebraic difference between the minimum limit of the size and its corresponding basic size. This is denoted by capital EI for hole and small ei for shaft. If you see the figure, the lower limit of hole and the upper limit of shaft are closer to basic size, and this leads us to the fundamental deviation. Fundamental deviation is the minimum difference between the size of a component and its basic size. So conventionally, fundamental deviation is identical to the upper deviation of shaft and the lower deviation of holes. Let me repeat. If you see the figure, the upper deviation for the shaft and the lower deviation for the hole is the fundamental deviation. Let us try to understand this with another figure. The basic size of the hole in the shaft is denoted by the vertical red line. So considering the upper and lower limits and the tolerance which is specified for the shaft and the hole in this figure, we can very easily identify the upper and lower deviations. In case of shaft, the upper limit is closer to the basic size, and hence the upper deviation is the fundamental deviation. If we consider the case of the hole, the lower limit of the hole is closer to the basic size, and hence the lower deviation is considered as the fundamental deviation. Now we come to the concept of fits. A fit is defined as the degree of tightness or looseness between two mating parts. When two parts are assembled together, the relation resulting from the difference between their sizes before assembly is called a fit. There are three types of fit: clearance fit, transition fit, interference fit. In clearance fit, an airspace or clearance exists between the shaft and the hole. So such type of fits provide loose joint. A clearance fit has positive allowance, that is, there is a minimum positive clearance between the upper limit of the shaft and the lower limit of the hole. There is a minimum positive clearance between the upper limit of the shaft and the lower limit of the hole. So here the clearance comes from the hole dimension and shaft dimension, and the difference of the hole dimension and shaft dimension is always greater than 0, and thus the hole dimension is greater than the shaft dimension. This fit allows rotation and sliding between mating parts. Another type of fit is the interference fit. In interference fit, there is a negative difference between the diameter of the hole and the diameter of the shaft. The diameter of the shaft is always larger than the diameter of the hole. So this type of fit has a negative allowance. Hence, an interference exists between the upper limit of the hole and the lower limit of the shaft. I repeat, there is an interference between the upper limit of the hole and the lower limit of the shaft. So in this case, the hole dimension minus the shaft dimension is less than 0. The difference of the hole dimension and the shaft dimension is negative, and so the hole dimension is always smaller than the shaft dimension. This type of fit is used for components where motion or power is to be transmitted. The third type of fit is the transition fit. Transition fit may result in either a clearance fit or an interference fit, depending on the actual value of the individual tolerances of the two mating components. So we can say that the transition fits are a compromise between the clearance fit and the interference fit. If you see the figure, if the combination comes out to be the upper limit of the hole with the upper limit or lower limit of the shaft, it will give clearance fit. If the combination is the lower limit of the hole and the lower limit of the shaft, that will also result into a clearance fit. But if you take the upper limit of the shaft with the lower limit of the hole, then that will result into an interference fit. This type of fits are used for applications where accurate location is important, but either a small amount of clearance or interference is permissible. Now there are two systems of fit, the hole basis system and the shaft basis system. These are used to designate the fits. In the hole basis system, the hole is kept as the constant. The zero line will be lying on the minimum diameter of the hole, that is, the lower deviation of the hole will be zero. The upper and lower deviation of the shaft would decide the type of fit. Now if you see the figure, the first case where the upper deviation and the lower deviation of the shaft is less than the lower deviation of the hole. So naturally that is a clearance fit. If you see the last image, the upper and the lower deviation of the shaft is more than the upper and lower deviation of the hole. So this is a clear-cut case of an interference fit. Now the interesting transition fit lies in between. The first case, if you see, the upper deviation of the shaft is more than the lower deviation of the hole, but the lower deviation of the shaft is less than the lower deviation of the hole. In the second case, the upper or lower deviation of the shaft is more than the lower deviation of the hole, but less than the upper deviation of the shaft. The third case, the upper and the lower deviation of the shaft are more than the lower deviation of the hole, but upper deviation is more and lower deviation is less than the upper deviation of the hole. So in a way, there are many different scopes of generation of a transition fit. The other system of designating fits is the shaft basis system. This is opposite to the hole basis system. In case of a shaft basis system, the shaft is kept as the constant. The zero line will be lying on the maximum size of the shaft. That is, the upper deviation of the shaft will be zero. The upper and lower deviation of the hole will determine the type of fits. So the same way as in hole basis system, the shaft basis system can also be understood. This brings us to the end of the basic theory of limit fit and tolerances. The various numericals and illustrations are available in most of the textbooks as well as online resources of NPTEL and IGNOU courses. I hope you would go through those illustrations and numericals for better understanding of this theoretical background. Thank you very much.